The Iron Crown. The longhouse in York smelled of smoke, mead, and the faint tang of blood. It was spring of 866 CE, and the city, newly claimed by the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, thrummed with the energy of a Viking stronghold. The great heathen army, a tide of Norse warriors that had swept through Northumbria, had fulfilled its first purpose: vengeance for their father Ragnar, slain by King Ella in a pit of snakes. The blood eagle carved upon Ella's back had silenced his screams and sent a message to all of England. The sons of Ragnar were not to be trifled with. But vengeance, though sweet, was a fleeting fire. Now the brothers faced a new challenge, holding what they had won and deciding what came next. Björn Ironside, eldest of the brothers, stood at the head of the hall, his broad frame casting a shadow across the rough-hewn table. His beard, thick and braided, framed a face weathered by years of raiding and battle. His axe, Skull Splitter, rested against the wall, its blade nicked but sharp, a testament to the recent siege of York. Björn's blue eyes, cold as the northern seas, surveyed his brothers. Ivar the Boneless, Sigurd Snake-in-the-Eye, Ubbe and Hvitserk. Each carried their father's fire, but their flames burned differently, and the cracks in their unity were already showing. Ivar, propped on a stool, his twisted legs hidden beneath a bearskin cloak, toyed with a dagger, spinning it on the table. His sharp features and piercing eyes belied his physical frailty. His mind was a weapon deadlier than any blade. "Northumbria is ours," he said, his voice low but commanding. "But it's a husk. Mercia and Wessex wait, ripe for the taking. Why sit here building walls when we could be carving an empire?" Björn's jaw tightened. "Empires need roots, Ivar. York is our foothold. We fortify it, settle it, make it a beacon for our people. Then we strike." Sigurd, leaning against a pillar, traced the Ouroboros-like mark in his eye. A gift from his mother Aslau's mystical blood. "Father didn't die for walls or empires," he said, his voice steady but laced with doubt. "He wanted us to be free, to sail, to live as Vikings. This feels like a Saxon's game." Ubbe, ever the mediator, sat between them, his hands folded. "We're here now. Northumbria's ours, but it's a land of enemies. We need allies, not just swords. Mercia could be persuaded. And Wessex is a problem we can't ignore." Hvitserk, sprawled on a bench, tossed a bone from his meal into the fire. "Allies, enemies, what's the difference? Let's raid, take what we want, and sail home with gold. I'm tired of these muddy fields." The brothers' voices clashed like swords, each pulling in a different direction. Björn sought stability, a legacy in stone. Ivar dreamed of conquest, his ambition boundless. Sigurd clung to their father's ideals of freedom. Ubbe sought balance, and Hvitserk, restless, lived for the thrill of the moment. Their mother, Aslaug, had warned of diverging paths, of glory and ruin. Her prophecy hung over them, a shadow no fire could dispel. The hall doors swung open, admitting a gust of cold air and a Saxon envoy, escorted by 2 Viking warriors. The man, Wulfstan, was wiry, his cloak mud-stained from the journey. He bowed stiffly, his eyes darting between the brothers. "King Birgrid of Mercia sends greetings," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of their gazes. "He offers tribute, silver, grain, and horses, if you'll spare his lands. He also proposes an alliance against Wessex, whose King Ethelred grows bolder by the day." Ivar's dagger stopped spinning. He leaned forward, his smile predatory. "Birgrid thinks he can buy us off? Tell him to come himself, or we'll burn Tamworth to ash." Wulfstan paled but held his ground. "My lord offers 50 pounds of silver and 1,000 men to join your fight against Wessex. Their prince, Alfred, is raising an army. He's no mere boy, he's cunning, trained in war and words. Alone, neither Mercia nor you can stand against him." Björn exchanged a glance with Ubbe. Rhys, the brothers were silent, their faces unreadable. An alliance with Mercia could secure their hold on Northumbria and weaken Wessex, but trust was scarce. What does Burgred want in return? Björn asked. Loyalty to the alliance, Wulfstan replied. And a hostage, his son, Kjolwulf, to ensure your faith. Ivar laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. A boy for a kingdom? Burgred's desperate. Or wise, Ubbe said. Wessex is the greater threat. We could use Mercia's strength. Sigurd frowned. And if Burgred betrays us? His son's life means nothing if he's false. Björn stood towering over Wulfstan. Tell Burgred we'll meet. But Kjolwulf comes to York, and if there's treachery, Mercia will drown in blood. Wulfstan bowed and left, the doors slamming shut behind him. Ivar turned to Björn, his eyes glinting. You trust this Saxon dog? He'll kneel until his moment comes, then strike. I trust no one, Björn said, his voice like iron. But we need men and time. Wessex is the prize, not Mercia. Hvitserk grinned. Then let's take both. I'm ready for a real fight. The brothers agreed to the meeting, but the decision sowed discord. Ivar, restless, began plotting his own moves, whispering to his lieutenant Guthrum, a hulking warrior with a scarred face. Send spies to Mercia, Ivar murmured. I want to know Burgred's every move. And Wessex, find this Alfred. I want his weaknesses. Guthrum nodded, his loyalty to Ivar absolute. It will be done, Boneless. Sigurd, overhearing, approached Ivar later. You're playing a dangerous game, brother. Spies and schemes, father fought with honor. Honor? Ivar spat. Honor got father thrown into a snake pit. I fight to win. The meeting with Burgred took place in Repton, a Mercian stronghold on the River Trent. The town's wooden palisade bristled with spears, and the air was thick with tension. Burgred, a stout man with a nervous tic, rode in with a small retinue, his son Kjolwulf at his side. The boy, 16 and pale, looked more like a frightened deer than a prince. Björn, flanked by Ubbe and Hvitserk, greeted them under a truce banner, while Ivar and Sigurd watched from a distance, their presence a silent threat. Burgred dismounted, his hands raised in peace. Sons of Ragnar, I seek no quarrel. Wessex threatens us all. Join me, and we'll crush Ethelred and his brother. Ivar, leaning on his crutches, smirked. And what do you gain, Saxon? A share of Wessex's gold? Survival, Burgred said bluntly. Alfred's building an army, training peasants into soldiers. He's fortified his burhs, fortresses you can't breach easily. Together, we can end him. Björn studied Burgred, searching for deceit. The Mercian king's fear was genuine, but fear could breed betrayal. We'll take your silver and men, Björn said. Kjolwulf stays with us in York. One false move and he dies. Kjolwulf's eyes widened, but Burgred nodded grimly. Agreed. The deal was struck, and Kjolwulf was sent to York under guard. Ubbe was tasked with watching the Mercian troops, while Hvitserk led a scouting party to Wessex's borders, probing for weaknesses. Sigurd, restless, requested to lead a raid into East Anglia, seeking to secure their flank and prove his worth apart from his brothers. Björn granted it, though his heart was heavy. Sigurd's idealism clashed with the brutal reality of their conquest. Ivar, meanwhile, devised a secret plan. He summoned Guthrum to his tent, the air thick with the scent of burning herbs. Go to Wessex, Ivar whispered. Pose as a defector. Feed Ethelred false reports. Tell him we plan to strike Winchester when we'll hit Reading instead. Sow chaos, Guthrum. It's what I do best. Guthrum's scarred face split into a grin. A bold move, Boneless. If they catch me. They won't, Ivar said. You're too clever. Go. The campaign against Wessex began in autumn, the combined Viking-Mercian army marching south. The landscape was a patchwork of fields and forests, the air crisp with the scent of damp earth. Björn led the vanguard, his shield wall a moving fortress of iron and wood. Ubbe and Hvitserk commanded the flanks, their warriors chanting war songs to Thor and Odin. Ivar, carried on a shield by 4 burly men, directed the rear, his eyes scanning the horizon for signs of Alfred's army. The first clash came at Ashdown, a chalk ridge in Berkshire. The Saxon army, led by Ethelred and Alfred, stood atop the ridge, their shield wall bristling with spears. Björn charged, his axe a whirlwind, shattering shields and skulls. Ubbe and Hvitserk fought with relentless fury, their swords carving paths through the Saxon ranks. Ivar's archers loosed volleys of arrows, blackening the sky. But Alfred, commanding the left wing, proved a formidable foe. His troops, disciplined and well-drilled, used the ridge's slope to repel the Viking advance, their spears thrusting in unison. The battle was a grinder lasting from dawn to dusk. Björn's strength held the center, but the Mercian troops wavered, their loyalty thin. Hvitserk, reckless, led a charge too deep into the Saxon lines, nearly cut off. Ubbe's quick intervention saved him, but the cost was high. Dozens of Vikings fell, their blood soaking the chalky soil. Ivar's tactics turned the tide. A feigned retreat lured the Saxons down the ridge, where hidden Viking archers ambushed them. The Saxon line broke and Björn's men pursued, cutting down stragglers. By nightfall, the ridge was Viking territory, but the victory was costly. Hundreds lay dead and the Mercians grumbled, their trust shaken. Björn, bloodied but unbowed, rallied his men with a roar. "For Ragnar! For Valhalla!" The warriors cheered, but the weight of loss pressed on him. The Saxons had retreated, not broken, and Alfred's survival meant the war would drag on. That night in the camp, Ivar confronted Björn by the firelight. "You fight like a bear, brother, but you lack vision. We should have flanked them, struck their supply lines. Charging head-on cost us too much." Björn's fists clenched. "And you'd have us skulk like thieves? We won, Ivar?" "Barely," Ivar snapped. "Alfred lives, and Wessex stands. We need cunning, not just muscle." Sigurd, returning from his East Anglian raid, joined the argument, his face grim. "We came for vengeance, not this endless war. Father wanted us to sail, to explore, not rule these muddy lands." Ubbe, binding a wound on his arm, sighed. "We're in too deep now, fight or die." Hvitserk, nursing a tankard of stolen ale, laughed. "Let's just kill Alfred and sail home." The brothers' discord deepened as winter approached. Guthrum's mission bore fruit. False reports led Ethelred to fortify Winchester, leaving Reading vulnerable. But Alfred, ever astute, smelled deceit. His spies uncovered Guthrum's plot, and the Viking was forced to flee, barely escaping with his life. Ivar, enraged, vowed to burn Wessex to ash, but Björn urged caution, fearing their forces were spread too thin. In the dead of winter, disaster struck. Ceolwulf, the Mercian hostage, escaped York, aided by Saxon spies posing as servants. The news reached Björn at Reading, where he was overseeing fortifications. Burgred, claiming ignorance, withdrew his troops, leaving the Vikings exposed. Ivar in Tamworth exploded with fury. "Burgred's played us for fools. We march on Mercia now." Björn, standing atop Reading's walls, stared at the horizon. "Mercia's a trap, Ivar. Wessex is the heart of our enemy. We strike there, or we lose everything." "Then go to Wessex," Ivar hissed through a messenger. "I'll crush Burgred myself." The great heathen army split, a fracture born of pride and vision. Ivar, with Ubbe and a third of the army, marched on Mercia, their longships sailing up the Trent. Björn, Sigurd, and Hvitserk turned toward Wessex, targeting Reading's stronghold. The brothers' unity, once iron, was now brittle as ice. Ivar's campaign was a storm of vengeance. He sacked Tamworth in a single night, the town's wooden walls burning like tinder. Burgred, caught unprepared, was dragged before Ivar in chains. "You thought you could betray us?" Ivar snarled, his dagger at Burgred's throat. "Your son's escape was your doing." Burgred, trembling, swore his innocence. "Ceolwulf acted alone. I swear it by God." Ivar's eyes narrowed. "Your God means nothing to me. He spared Burgred's life, but only to install Solwulf as a puppet king, a humiliated figurehead under Viking control. Ubbe, witnessing the scene, felt a pang of unease. "This isn't right, Ivar," he said later in the ashes of Tamworth. "We're raiders, not tyrants." Ivar's laugh was cold. "Tyrants win, Ubbe. Kings bow to them." Meanwhile, Björn's army besieged Reading, a fortified town on the River Kennet. The Saxon defenses, bolstered by Alfred's new burhs, were formidable. Stone walls, deep ditches, and archers perched like hawks. Björn led the assault, his axe cleaving through gates and men. Sigurd, wielding a spear, fought with deadly precision, his snake eye glinting in the torchlight. Hvitserk, wild and fearless, scaled the walls with a band of berserkers, but the Saxons fought back with desperate courage. Alfred, commanding from a nearby hill, used hit-and-run tactics, harrying the Vikings with cavalry. The siege dragged on for weeks, the Vikings' numbers dwindling. One night during a fierce assault, Sigurd saved Björn's life, thrusting his spear through a Saxon thane who'd aimed a crossbow at Björn's back. But the act cost Sigurd dearly. A Saxon blade slashed his chest, the wound deep and bleeding. Björn carried his brother from the fray, his heart pounding. In the camp, he tended Sigurd's wound, but the blood flowed too freely. "Hold on, brother," Björn whispered, his voice breaking. "You're stronger than this." Sigurd's smile was weak, his snake eye flickering. "Don't let Ivar win, Björn. Father's dream. It's not this." As dawn broke, Sigurd's breath stilled. Björn roared in grief, his cry echoing across the camp. Hvitserk, returning from a failed raid, fell to his knees beside his brother's body. The Vikings buried Sigurd under a willow, his spear planted in the earth as a marker. Björn carved a rune stone with trembling hands. Sigurd Snake-in-the-Eye, son of Ragnar, fell for honor. The loss shattered the brothers' resolve. Björn, hardened by grief, vowed to take Reading or die trying. Hvitserk, consumed by rage, swore to kill Alfred himself. But news arrived from Ivar. Mercia was secured, and he was marching to join them, bringing Solwulf and a fresh army. The brothers would reunite, but the cost of their division was clear. Sigurd's death, the Mercian betrayal, and Alfred's growing strength. The siege of Reading intensified. Björn's men breached the outer walls, but Alfred's tactics, guerrilla strikes, poisoned wells, wore them down. Ivar arrived, his war cart rolling through the mud, his face a mask of determination. "We end this now," he declared. Reading falls, then Winchester, then Alfred's head. Björn nodded, but his heart was heavy. Aslag's prophecy echoed in his mind. One son would rise, another would fall, and the third would wander. Sigurd was gone, and Ivar's ambition burned like wildfire. Björn wondered if he could hold the brothers together, or if the iron crown they sought would crush them all. The final assault on Reading was a maelstrom of blood and fire. Björn led the charge, his axe a blur, while Ivar's archers rained death from above. Hvitserk, driven by vengeance, fought like a man possessed, cutting through Saxon lines. But Alfred, ever cunning, sprang a trap. Hidden pits filled with spikes, ambushes in the streets. The Vikings took the town, but at a horrific cost. Hundreds lay dead, and the brothers' army was depleted. That night, in the ruins of Reading, Björn confronted Ivar. "Sigurd's death is on us. We split our strength, and now he's gone." Ivar's eyes blazed. "Blame me, brother. You chose this siege. You chose caution. I'll finish Alfred myself." Ubbe, arriving from Mercia, stepped between them. "Enough. We're brothers. We fight together, or we lose everything." Hvitserk, bandaged and weary, nodded. "For Sigurd, for father." The brothers agreed to march on Winchester, Alfred's capital. But the cracks in their bond were deep. Björn dreamed of a lasting Danelaw, a home for their people. Ivar sought an empire, no matter the cost. Ubbe longed for peace, and Hvitserk for glory. As they prepared for the next war, a messenger brought dire news. Alfred was gathering a new army at Egbert's Stone, bolstered by Saxon levies and Mercian defectors. The great heathen army faced its greatest challenge yet, and the sons of Ragnar stood at a crossroads. Björn gazed at the stars, clutching Sigurd's pendant of Thor's hammer. "Guide us, father," he whispered. The iron crown of conquest loomed, but its weight was crushing. The path to glory or ruin lay ahead, and only the gods knew which brother would pay the price. To be continued, end of part 2. For more interesting and heart-touching videos, please visit our YouTube channel and subscribe for our motivation. Thanks for watching.